narrated by Ibn Buraidah. Ibn Buraidah reported that Amir bin Sharah al-Shabi, who belonged to the tribe of Shobi Hamdan, narrated to me. He asked Fatima bint Qais, may Allah be pleased with her, the sister of Dahak bin Qais, may Allah be pleased with him, who was one of the early emigrants, saying, narrate to me a hadith you directly heard from the Messenger of Allah, without attributing it to anyone else. She replied, if you desire, I shall do so. He said, very well, narrate it to me. She said, I was married to Abdul Hamid bin Hafs bin al-Mughira. He was among the best youth of Quraysh. He was wounded while fighting in the first battle alongside the Messenger of Allah. When my marriage ended, due to divorce, several companions of the Prophet, including Abdurrahman bin Auf, may Allah be pleased with him, sent proposals for marriage. However, the Messenger of Allah proposed that I marry Usama bin Zaid, may Allah be pleased with him, his freed slave's son. It had been conveyed to me that the Messenger of Allah said, whoever loves me should also love Usama. When the Prophet spoke to me about this, I said, my matter is in your hands. Marry me to whomever you wish. He said, move to the house of Shorik. Shorik was a wealthy woman from the Ansar, known for her hospitality to guests. I replied, I will do as you suggest. The Messenger of Allah then said, do not do so. Shorik is a woman who frequently receives guests, and I do not like that your veil might fall, or that your legs might be uncovered, leading to discomfort for you due to the presence of so many people. Instead, move to the house of your cousin, Abdullah bin Amr bin Maktum. He belonged to the Quraysh tribe of Fur, to which I also belonged. So, I moved to his house. When my waiting period, Ida, ended, I heard a caller announcing that prayer was to be held in congregation. I went to the mosque and prayed behind the Messenger of Allah, in the women's row, which was directly behind the men. After the Prophet completed the prayer, he smiled and ascended the pulpit. The Prophet then said, remain seated where you prayed. He asked, do you know why I have gathered you here? The people replied, Allah and his messenger know best. The Messenger of Allah said, I did not gather you to encourage or discourage you about something. Instead, I gathered you because Tamim al-Dari, who was a Christian and has now embraced Islam, narrated to me an incident that aligns with what I have been telling you about the false Messiah, Dajjal. Tamim informed me that he, along with 30 men from Larkham and Judam, set out in a ship. The sea waves tossed them for a month, and eventually, they were cast ashore near an island at sunset. There, they were met by a creature covered with thick hair. They could not distinguish its front from its back due to the thickness of its hair. They said, woe to you! What are you? The creature replied, I am Al-Jassasa, the spy. They asked, what is Al-Jassasa? It replied, proceed to this man in the monastery, as he eagerly awaits your news. Tamim and his companions entered the monastery and found the most gigantic man they had ever seen. He was firmly bound with chains, his hands tied to his neck, and his legs shackled with iron. They asked, woe to you! Who are you? He replied, you will soon know about me. First, tell me about yourselves. They said, we are Arabs who set sail on a ship, but the sea became turbulent and tossed us around for a month. Finally, we ended up on this island. Here we met a strange, hairy creature that told us to come to you. The chained man asked, tell me about the palm trees of Baysan. Do they still bear fruit? They replied, yes. He said, soon, they will no longer bear fruit. Then he asked, tell me about the Sea of Tiberias, Lake Tiberias. Does it still have water? They said, yes, it has plenty of water. He said, soon, its water will dry up. He asked, tell me about the spring of Suwa. Does it still flow, and do people irrigate their crops with its water? They said, yes, it has plenty of water, and the people use it for irrigation. He asked, tell me about the unlettered prophet. What has he done? They replied, he has emerged from Mecca and settled in Medina. He asked, have the Arabs fought against him? They replied, yes. He asked, what was the outcome? They said, he has prevailed over the Arabs around him, and they have submitted to him. The chained man said, "This is better for them that they obey him. I will now tell you about myself. I am the Messiah, Dajjal, and soon I will be given permission to emerge. I will travel the earth, entering every town in 40 nights, except for Mecca and Medina. Both these cities are forbidden for me. Every time I attempt to enter one of them, an angel with a drawn sword will block my path, and there will be angels guarding every route leading to them." The Prophet then struck his staff on the pulpit and said, "This is Tabor. This is Tabor. This is Tabor," referring to Medina. He continued, "Did I not tell you about this before?" The people replied, "Yes, indeed." The Prophet said, "I like Tamim's account because it confirms what I have been telling you. It concerns Mecca and Medina. Be aware that he, Dajjal, is in the Syrian or Yemeni sea. No, rather he is in the east, he is in the east, he is in the east." The Prophet then pointed towards the east with his hand. Fatima bint Qais, may Allah be pleased with her, concluded, "I memorized this hadith from the Messenger of Allah.